What's up, everyone? Today we have a yard machine, 5 horsepower, front tine rototiller. It's basically the same as a Craftsman. There's maybe a few changes here and there, but it's basically the same. Point being is that the owner says that there is 0 compression, and he was using it and it just stopped, and he tried to start it up and he was expecting there to be a low resistance, and he nearly dislocated his shoulder. I checked the oil. It is full. Not only is it full, it doesn't smell like fuel, and it doesn't have, it's not new. So it's been used, so it's not like he put a little extra oil on there afterwards to make sure, to see if there's anything that he can do with this oil. No. So that's good news. If oil's clean, that's a problem. Also, if there's rainbow bits in there, there's this bit. This is our issue right here. That generally doesn't work out very well when that happens. Like you said, literally 0 compression. There's not even a point of checking it. I'm going to assume it has something to do with that valves. I don't know if maybe a seat was dislocated. I don't know if it just got a valve got stuck, spring broke, got jammed in there. I don't know. So we're going to take off the valve cover and we're going to take a look. Now these Tecumsehs, they're not bad machines, but they're just not very common anymore, so parts are a little hard to find. You can, it's just not as easy, but we'll see what we have to do. If anything, I think I have one we could rob some parts off of. I took the liberty of blowing off a lot of the crap that was on there, so let's see. I've never personally seen one of these Tecumsehs fail. I've seen them become so worn out that you have to scrap it because it's smoking. But fail? That's a new one. And you probably have a lot better review than I do, so takes me a moment, forgive me. Now he said that he hasn't had this machine very long. He bought it because I worked on another one of his, and on oddly enough a blown up motor, and he just assumed that I didn't have another replacement. But then when I called him and said that I did have a replacement, he had already gone through to find this one. Okay, what is going on with this exhaust shield? Man. They really make it so you're gonna really want to have to take this off. There we go. Oy. Okay, finally, we're at that point. Well, nothing really seems horrible. Just take that completely off. Let's see if they rock back and forth. They do. Pretty much exactly how I'd expect them to. So, they're not excessively loose. That's peculiar. Okay, well, I guess the next stage of our investigation is going to be to if it was loose, I would suspect the valve seat fell out. And the valve is getting hung up on it on its way back up. That's not exactly what's happening right now. Which is kind of unfortunate, because I was hoping that was the problem. Because that's probably the easiest and cheapest way of fixing this machine. Put my finger over the plug hole. I don't feel a single thing. Okay. Moment of truth. That screwdriver dances a little bit. We know we have a moving piston. Not moving at all. Excuse me. So we have a busted connecting rod. That's not good. That probably is a death of this machine, because it's not really a point of keeping it. I'll just do a little. The piston goes up and down. Yeah, so that connecting rod definitely exploded, because it doesn't seem like it started to, I mean, it's not seized, so that's interesting. I think what I'm going to do next is I'm going to, oh, treats. I'm going to take the oil out. Try to take a look inside after draining the oil, and there's a blockage on the motor right there, and there's something like a piece of casting that's in the way, so I'd have to remove the plug on the bottom. I'm not going to go very far. I know the rod is definitely disconnected, because when I push down on the piston, I don't see any movement from the flywheel, so it's disconnected. It's not anything horrible that I can see, but trying to find a rod for this is not going to be cheap. So I do have another engine like this. I do have a Briggs that might be a little better. I don't know. I'm going to contact the owner, see if he even wants it. This is a spare machine for him, so he very well might just say don't fix it, in which case we'll do another video, or we'll continue this one. I'm not sure yet. So let me go ahead and get in touch with him, and then later we will see what the outcome of this machine is. Well, we have the okay to replace the engine, so we're going to do that. There's also two 10 millimeters on the other side, and then this was a 7/16 on this end. Anyway, so what we are looking for is how it mounts. It should just be like 4 bolts. It looks like it is. Don't know how well that's very visible, but one right there, another one behind this casting area, and then the exact same thing on the other side. They appear to be threaded too, so that should be fun. Well, better than if there was just a nut holding them on, because when it's just like a nut on the top, it's really hard to kind of there we go. It's really hard to if you're alone, that is, kind of hold one, get a wrench out, especially on the top, because it's always on the top. It's just annoying just to try to figure out how to manage to do that. So I'm going to take a 1/2 inch, get it taken off. Something, however, I think would be prudent for us to do beforehand is we are going to take off this from the motor. Looks like that is just held into place in one of the 4 holes that are on every motor like this. So that's good. Take the belt off. There's no tension on it, so it's really easy to take that off. And since we are wanting to do this as easy as possible, let's see if we can't also take off this pulley. Sure, it's going to be seized on there because that's just how this works. But let's find out. Now, this could be a real pain because usually you would need to shove something down the cylinder like a rope or piston stop or something if this continues to spin. But who knows? Yep. I'm gonna have to get the big guns out for that one. That was on there. And just as I suspected, that's also seized on there. Let us, I don't want to have to break out the acetylene torch. Let us see if just a puller will take care of that for us. Let's find out. I didn't want to ruin the key in there. Hoping it just will slide right off now. That didn't work. I want to put heat on it. It's still firmly on there. Let's just make sure we're not messing up the key. Three-jaw puller also would probably have been a better idea because you have more points to hold it. And these are not necessarily the strongest of pieces. You can break them. In fact, it's very common to break them. So having three, just kind of spreads out that pull, but it didn't break. And if it wasn't going to work with that, then like I said, heat will be your friend. Get it hot, then get it cold. And that's it. So that just comes apart. Key inside looks good. So now that we have all that done, I'm going to remove nothing. I think that's it. Yeah, there's no throttle cable or anything. I am, however, going to remove this carburetor because I'm 99% sure the carburetor that is on the motor I have for this is bad. Oh, damn. So if I can not have to clean one and this is still good, I'm a lot happier with that decision. But pretty sure I know what's going to happen next. I do the other side. I need to remove the fuel line, so I'm going to do that before I remove the other side because it's easier when it's still on the machine. I'm going to take off the 4 1/2 inch on that's holding to the body, and we'll be able to take this engine off. I skipped ahead a little bit, and this engine is the exact same thing except it was on a mini bike. I forget what style it is, but I took off the front cover. I'll show you how to put it back on. So instead of instead of you watching me take it off, we're going to put it back on, which I think might be a little more useful. So what did I do so far? Well, I just removed the bolts holding the motor on and put them back on. Remove the cover, carb from everything that I need from the old one, and here we are with the new one. I do know this has compression. In fact, right there. It's definitely not the prettiest things in the world, as you can probably tell. but it's nothing good pressure washing can't handle. So I think we're gonna get started right away. The reason why this is here is because at one point there was I don't think it was a starter. I think it was like a generator for like a bulb for the mini bike. But when I got this, it had been stripped off and wires cut. So I'm just gonna leave the wires alone and continue on. I could take off the flywheel, put it on this one and swap them, but I don't really suspect that's really gonna be needed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to get this started. We will, let's see, what do we want to do first? I'm thinking the carburetor should be first. So we'll put the carb on, then we will put a recoil shroud on, then we'll put on the fuel tank, in which case I already put a new fuel line on. It just slips right out and you put a new one in, and yeah, the other one was pretty nasty. So let's get started. I've struggled to try to find a good angle for you, or even me for that matter, for this, and I eventually have come to the following conclusion of there isn't one. As I pour all the fuel out of the carb, probably wouldn't be a bad idea. So we're gonna have to do this with both you and I not being able to see a whole lot. But this goes on here. That doesn't seem right now, does it? There we go. I hate these little clips. That also does not seem right. There is a pretty decent possibility of, because I don't have the little cover on and the spring's not putting any tension, it's just going to be difficult in general. It likes to be difficult. Something I found out recently is that the clip for the old motor, the little linkage, is different. So that was definitely causing a little bit of a problem. The other one was also a choke style carburetor, which I'm not gonna lie, I definitely like that one a whole lot better. But this one supposedly works. So if it does work, then we're not going to mess with it. We're just going to continue on. I put the linkage in the same hole on top of the carburetor as the one that came off of this machine was on. As far as I can tell, this motor is still governed. So that's good. This is not going to be the fun one at all. Remember, I can't see this just as much as you can. But basically, I'm just putting the nut on the back of the bolt, holding it down with my finger. It's a lock nut, so it's, once you get it tight, pretty decent to continue on. I'm gonna hold off on putting the air filter and the air filter housing on. They appear to be basically the same, so I'm gonna hold off on that. Breather is the same. I need to get a fuel clip and put the fuel line on. But let's move forward. A couple things to take note of. There's supposed to be a spring here. This one, this is off the old machine. I'm gonna put the new one on that's off this motor. I'm gonna put the one off the other motor on this one. They're pretty much the same spring. but just in case. Now, let's see here. Another reason why I wanted to replace this whole shroud is one, it has the decals on it, and two, the other one had a on and off switch right here. This one is just right here. Just grounds it out in that little tab. And the reason why I want that is because if I didn't, the whole grounding system is kind of intertwined together with charging and all that. So I didn't really want to have to deal with that nonsense, to be honest. So it's just easier not to. When in doubt, just go with the easy way. And it's not like this motor isn't mass produced for stuff like this. So it's not like this is it, yeah, all sketchy. It's just different than what was originally on this particular engine. So now we're going to put the spring back on. So now that is full throttle. This is off. So we should be good to go. So how this gets attached is you need to do it before the fuel tank, and you need to take the fuel tank off, which I'll explain why. But there is one right there, two on the bottom, and then one on the side. I'm going to put this air filter cover on now because I think it actually will attach up here. It will. Okay. Tecumsehs are actually great little engines, but the only problem I think they really had was their carbs. I mean, I'm sure someone who's more knowledgeable on the demise of Tecumseh can chime in on that, but as far as I can tell, the carbs are definitely the weak point, at least from what I see in Tecumsehs. They just don't, they're not as flexible, I'll just put it that way. My first experience with a Tecumseh was when I was younger, and I had a small little go-kart. I love that little go-kart. It's great. 10 out of 10 would recommend. The problem with that 10 out of 10 recommend is that if you ever went over any bump or anything, it would cut out, and no matter what you did, you could never go fast in it. After growing up, I realized it's definitely restricted, but that's not the point of this video. So we have the cover on. I'm going to put the fuel tank on, and that can be a real interesting task. The reason why that is because it has this little bracket on the back, and you would assume if you looked at it, you can just take it off without having to really remove anything. You would be wrong, because if you look at the plastic piece, this has to slide in here. They are in opposite directions, so you do have to remove the little bracket and then push this on, and then replace said bracket on the back. So I'm going to put the bolts on that, get it connected, and we'll be ready to give it a test fire. One of the benefits of this style of engine is you can see if when priming it, if you get anything. And I do. Let's make sure that's not on off. Now there's no anything connected. It's literally just a motor bolted to the frame. Maybe a little faster than that. Two things we noticed there. One, that spring is definitely not going to work on this. And two, it runs. So I'm going to see if the spring just has a different location to be installed in. I don't think so, but I don't remember. And yeah, other than that, we should be good. Came to a realization. So this does have a variety of places you can put a spring. I mean, there's here, there's up there, and it also has this. I was wondering, what is that for? And then I realized this is a set RPM machine, and that's what it is. So we have two settings. Actually, we're just gonna do one. But anyway, I think we have set it. I think we're gonna take it from there. Ran into a wee bit of a problem. So this is supposed to be flush with this. It's not. So what we're gonna do, well, a couple options. One, we could take it off, put a brand new motor on there, one with the correct length shaft. With this, not a problem. Everything else seems to line up just fine. Put the spacer in there that came off the old one, no issues. We could do that, be a little bit more money and a waste of all of our time. Or we could open up the old one, open up this one, switch the shafts just in case. Maybe there isn't any scarring on a journal. We don't know. We never opened it. Or three, which I'm kind of leaning towards. Yeah, you don't need to see this. After putting an extra washer on that, because when I shortened it, I cut off a couple threads. The bolt didn't bottom out or anything before, and it was barely not bottoming out there. I don't really like bottoming out. I like to have like an extra thread or two at the very minimum. So put an extra washer, put the belt on, cover on, all that's good to go. Pressure washed it. As you can tell, no longer looks horrible. Took the air compressor, blew everything off, so it should be good to go. Let's give it a pull. It hasn't ran for a couple minutes, so let's give it a couple primes. This is a engine replacement on a yard machine or MTD. You could do this with a different style motor if you didn't have the exact one. For instance, I know a lot of Briggs and Stratton use this exact same platform or the exact same body or tiller. So you can do that one. Not 100% sure if the belt would be either too short or too long. Could be just right. I can't quite remember. I feel like it probably will be okay, but just know that potentially you could be getting a different belt because the height could be a little bit different. or the crank could be a slightly in different position on the crank in the middle of the mount. So, you know, the belt could just be a little bit of a wild card. I don't suspect that's a big problem though. Just a little additional tension. It should be fine on the cable, just mainly right here. But other than that, that's about it. If you like what you see, keep watching, subscribe, follow me on Instagram at SmallEngine101, and I'll catch you on the next video. Leave a comment below. Have a good night.